Breaking tonight, President Trump reportedly growing more frustrated with our progress in Afghanistan, where earlier this week, 2 U.S. Army soldiers were killed when their convoy was hit by an explosive device. 4 others were injured. And just yesterday, a suicide bomber attacked a NATO convoy, killing a foreign soldier and injuring several more. And amid this onslaught, there are new questions tonight about the future of National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster, who is reportedly on thin ice with the White House. Here now, Lieutenant Colonel Michael Waltz, a former Green Beret commander and a Fox News contributor. Michael,
Thanks,
I found the 2 questions that the president has been asking at these meetings. One is, why is the U.S. military not winning there? And why, after 16 years, is the United States still stuck there? So I wonder if you know, having been worked in the National Security Council field, what is the president wrestling with as he tries to figure out this next move in Afghanistan?
Well, the president, look, the president's right to be frustrated with the lack of a comprehensive strategy. We all are. And we're frustrated with how long we've been there and the lack of progress. But it's relatively easy and simplistic to just advise him, it's too hard, we've been there too long, let's just pull the soldiers out, because it just ignores the reality on the ground. And that reality is that Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and other groups will make gains in the wake of the Taliban. If we just completely withdraw, the Afghan government and army will collapse. Those groups will be able to attack the United States and Europe again. And the important point, and the difference with what happened in Iraq, is that they will be able to then destabilize Pakistan right next door with 10 times the population of Iraq and with nuclear weapons. So I think President Trump risks, if he just completely withdraws, being to Afghanistan what Obama was to Iraq. We cannot just leave. That would be a devastating decision, and then we'd find ourselves having to force our way back in years later.
And does President Trump have some ground to say that President Obama left him with kind of a bad situation? Is that true?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, essentially, President Obama, one thing that people miss, and they often say, well, what can a few thousand troops do that 100,000 couldn't, ordered under President Obama? But in the same speech at West Point in 2009, when President Obama announced the surge, he told the world we were going to also withdraw. So the enemy just essentially waited him out, and he pulled the rug out from under it. And then essentially over the next 6 to 7 years, told the world, we're leaving, we're leaving, we're leaving. Well, that left, everything from the populace to the Afghan government to our enemies hedging and waiting on America to leave. So the signal that we need to send now is to the Afghan government, we are with you. We are not, this is in our national interest, and I'm sorry, we're going to have to be there at a low level of support. And this is another critical difference. We're not talking hundreds of thousands of troops on the ground again. What we're talking is a low level of support to the Afghan army, but it's going to be over a long time, like we've done in South Korea, Germany, Japan, and Colombia.
So, okay, and let me ask you also about these rumors that H.R. McMaster, who had been really celebrated by President Trump when he was named the National Security Advisor, is he on thin ice with the White House? You see a lot of leaks, and you haven't had the president come out and say that they aren't true. Do you have any inside information?
Well, I think in a previous segment had folks on talking about these different factions in the White House undermining each other in the media. I'm hoping to see General Kelly stamp that out and get everybody on the same team. But these factions, this kind of isolationist faction versus folks who really want to lead abroad, have been in the Republican Party since the 1930s. You remember the Republicans in the 30s didn't want us into World War II, versus those who want to lead abroad, believe in American exceptionalism, and believe that the United States has to really kind of force its values into the world order of democracy, free trade, free markets.
Before I lose you, what do you think?
That's the tension.
What do you think of the rumor that President Trump is thinking of sending H.R. McMaster to be the general in charge in Afghanistan? Well,
yeah, I've heard that rumor as well, and I think H.R. McMaster would do a great job in Afghanistan. He's been there for several tours, but I like to see him where he is, and I think he's one of the more brilliant officers of his generation.
All right, so some support there. All right, thank you so much, Michael. Have a good weekend.